Well, thank you all for hanging in on that. You know, we had some technical difficulties at the beginning there, and as frustrating as that was for the first half hour, it was obvious from your reaction that you were into the film anyway. And Gary, where are you? You got to be here somewhere. Does Gary and Bob get on up here? Come on, Gary. For a good question-answer session. Let's give them another big round of applause. And keep it up until Gary gets up here, huh? Now, I want to tease you for just a moment. We got a question-answer session here for about 15 minutes, but before we get into that, I want you to see something that Bob Kendrick bought all the way from Kansas City, and that is a replica Kansas City Monarchs jersey, size extra large, right here. And thank you, Bob, for coming and donating this tonight. And in another 10 or 15 minutes, one of you is going to win this tonight. But for now, why don't you guys come over here on this side, and what I would like for you to do is to field some questions. I'm sure you got questions here. Who's got the first one? Yes, way up in the back, and shout it out. I'll repeat the question. How old are you?
I think it was directed to you.
Who, me?
I'll start first. I'm 65.
And I just turned 55. Just had a birthday 2 weeks ago.
And Mr. Thompson?
48.
You got kids here, Gary. Another question. Yes? Did you guys play baseball when you were kids? Great question.
I did. I played sandlot baseball. I never got a chance to play organized baseball. I'm from a small town in Georgia called Crawfordville, Georgia. Crawfordville is east of Atlanta, west of Augusta. And according to my dear friend, the late great Buck O'Neill, I'm the only person he ever met that did not claim Atlanta as home. And Crawfordville is about as big as this theater. There might be more people in this theater right now than there was in Crawfordville, Georgia. And so we didn't have an organized baseball team, but I always played sandlot baseball. I've been a baseball fan since I can remember. Had no idea that I would eventually make my living in baseball, even though it is celebrating the history of baseball. And so, yeah, the game has been very important to me for a long time.
And I played in West Seattle here for the Olympic Heights Club, which used to have a team, Pee Wee, Little League, Babe Ruth. And then I also played at Sealth High School and college. And I showed Buck O'Neill some video of me playing baseball, and Buck had a really nice quote. When one of the guys that was watching the film said, well, what do you think Thompson's chances are? And he said, well, he's 47. If he's lucky, he'll be 48 next year. I wasn't very fast.
Next question. Yes?
Congratulations on such a wonderful film. I'm wondering, and story, I'm wondering if there are any of the students that are here today, and if they are, could they stand up?
Well, not only, Clem's asking, are the students here today? Yes, there are some, and they should come on up here too. Come on up. Keep that applause going. Oh, come on down. There's more than one of you. So, Clem, do you have a question for Paul here?
I suppose. Is there any difference in what you were thinking back then as to what you think about it now? That the fact that is it bigger than what it was then, now?
Repeat the question.
Does it mean more to you now?
Does it mean more to me now? Yes, and I think it's about the same. Like, at the time I'm a kid and I'm like, well, like, this trip seems kind of cool. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. And then it happened, and it was much bigger than we thought, with like all the press. And there were several times we had like police escorts into towns and parades and festivals and and now it's 17 years later, and we're in a theater full of people I've never met before, watching a film, a thing that we did in high school, and I think this is awesome. And thank you all for coming out.
Paul, I'm going to follow up here. Besides coming into a theater with people you don't know, what in general is in your life is different? In other words, what are you doing today that you might not have been doing if not for this trip?
It gave me a lot of confidence that I probably wouldn't have had. I was a very quiet kid. I sat in the back of the class. I didn't speak up very much, and I asked many questions. And for this project, I had to get on the phone, which I didn't do very often, call mayors and sponsors for companies, and in order to get money for the trip and to get information. And it made the kind of growing up a lot easier. It also taught me that just because you're a kid or somebody tells you, yeah, right, that won't happen, you can make it happen. I've since been running a few conferences for computer stuff the past couple of years with my friends, and we're like, hey, let's just do this thing. And somebody's like, well, that's crazy. And we're like, no, I think we can pull it off.
That's about as inspiring as it gets. Another question. Yes?
I was really amazed that you didn't have more injuries, that the students could ride so far and play so much without getting hurt. Did you have any stories of people who couldn't play or hurt a knee or something like that?
Stories about people who couldn't play, injuries.
Yes, one of them is just a few rows behind you, and Tauno, come on down. This is Tauno Latvala. He was a coach, an inspiration, a player. At one point, an avid bike rider. And our only real injury on the trip, when his bag, which was filled with skin cream and all sorts of things, which earned him the nickname of Fabio, got caught in his spokes, and he did a flip in the middle of the night on our way to Clarinda, which caused the kids to have to spend the night on the hospital floor while Tauno was getting treated, since he didn't think we could manage his care. And I don't know if you remember, at the very end of the film, when Buck is pitching the ball, Tauno's there taking a photograph with some fingers taped. So that was the injury. Tauno has a very different story, which isn't any more believable than what I just told you, but I'll give it to him anyway. He did not hurt his back, though, doing the chicken dance.
Did Gary have you ask that question? I'm not going to go into my version of the story, but let's just say that when the kids were left behind, the van that was with us went ahead to let Gary know this had happened. And as you saw at the end of the film, Gary had his special medical procedures that he liked to use to solve issues that did occur. And I said two things to the kids. I said, first, make sure you cover me up in case I go into shock. And second, don't let Gary get near me when they get here. So that was it.
More questions? Who's got a question? Yeah?
What happens to the film next?
This is the pregnant question here. What happens to the film next?
I don't know. I think it's been accepted to the Minneapolis Film Festival. Found out a week and a half ago it was accepted to Sundance, but Sundance, it's bittersweet. Sundance, it has to premiere there, and we premiered in Kansas City, so I think at this point it's a clerical error. But it was nice that it was accepted. So I don't know, I think we'd like to show it in cities that we were at. It was very special to premiere it in Kansas City, because obviously we did it with Kansas City in mind. But I think I'd like to have it seen in the cities that we went through and we stayed at. We got some incredible support, as you might imagine, from the cities that we did go through. So it's kind of still a learning process, I guess.
And, yeah. Bob, I've seen you in interviews the last couple of days. You have some thoughts about that in terms of getting it in front of educators?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that this project is so important on a number of fronts, but from an experiential learning standpoint, I think it's one of the most amazing projects I've ever been encountered with. And I just think that every educator should see this film, because I think it gives them a creative outlook on how this history can be used. And I think it moves us beyond just teaching from textbooks. And so the things that these young people learn, and now they're adults, these are things that they'll remember the rest of their lives. And so I think it gives us a true indication of what makes the learning process so special. And so, certainly part of my wish for the film is that we do get this in front of more educators, particularly those who teach history, social studies, those kinds of things. And so, it's just an exciting film. And there were a couple of people I wanted to introduce tonight as well. Number one, I got my family here, family members of mine who, Vicki and Neil Tucker, who came in from Kansas City to see their relatives, Steve and Kathleen, Neil's sisters and brother who live here in Seattle. So please welcome them. And the grandson of the great Hank Thompson is here tonight. And I didn't know he was going to be here tonight. And for those of you who might not be familiar with the name, for those of you who might not be familiar with the name Hank Thompson holds the distinction of being the only baseball player to integrate two major league teams. He integrated the St. Louis Browns, and he also integrated the New York Giants. Hank Thompson was an outstanding infielder for the Kansas City Monarchs. And Hank Thompson and Willard Brown would go to the St. Louis Browns just weeks after Jackie Robinson would break baseball's color barrier. And honestly, the St. Louis Browns thought that they would both do for them what Jackie had done for the Brooklyn Dodgers. But the St. Louis Browns were a sideshow. Nobody cared really about the St. Louis Browns. And both your grandfather and Willard Brown realized that they had left a team in the Kansas City Monarchs that were far better than the St. Louis Browns. And Hank Thompson was outstanding. Hank Thompson, Monty Irvin, and Willie Mays would form the Majors' first all-black outfield. Hank Thompson was an infielder by trade, and he was a tremendous ball player. And so it is absolutely great to have you guys here as well, and good to meet you. You get a chance to ask. Stand up and tell people what your name.
What is your name?
William Henderson. It's my son, Miles.
William and Miles.
All right, we got time for one more question, one last question, right here in the front.
Being broke, how did you get back from Kansas?
Being broke, how did you get back from Kansas City?
We were never broke. I just told them we were broke to see if it would work, and it did. And so when we came back from Kansas City, we ate very well.
Did you win that game?
We did win that game. The kids ended up 20-15 after starting out 2-12.
Excellent.
All right, we're almost done here. I will ask Bob and Gary to hold up the jersey?
And this is a 1942 Kansas City Monarch jersey. As a matter of fact, we are celebrating 75 years of this great team, in which your grandfather was a member of this great team, winning the Negro League World Series. They swept the powerful Homestead Grays, who had Hall of Famers Buck Leonard and Josh Gibson batting 3 and 4 in that powerful Grays lineup. But this team was led by Satchel Paige, Hilton Smith, one of the greatest pitching staffs, not in Negro Leagues history, but in baseball history. His grandfather, Hank Thompson, Willard Brown, who was in the Hall of Fame, Buck O'Neill, who you saw in the film, Ted Strong, who, for those of you who are baseball fans, was Dave Winfield before we ever knew who Dave Winfield was. 6'5" tall, freakish athlete, played for the Harlem Globetrotters. One of the top 5 greatest Negro League teams of all time was this 42 team. And so we're thrilled to be able to make this available to one of you all tonight and raise money for this great cause.
You can commemorate this night because it's not just about the history that Bob is telling you, but what else is 1942 in this room? You're sitting in 1942. The Admiral Theater was built in 1942. And we're going to start this off at the level that it would sell for. It's in one of the Ebbets Field flannels.
And there's a cap to go with it.
Well, you let go of the surprise. But yes, if somebody gets this, let's hold up one of the...
I can't keep a secret.
You get a cap too. We're going to start this at $200. Who's got a bid on this for $200 tonight? Walk home with this. We got $200 up there. Okay, who's got a bid for $225? Anybody got $225? $225 up here. Who's got a bid for $250? This goes to the restoration of the murals. This is a gift from the Negro Leagues Museum. Who's got $250? Anybody? It's an extra large. $250 right up in the back. Okay, we got $250. Who's got $275? I'm looking. $275 right here in the front. $300. Anybody got $300? That's $300 in the back. $325. $325 in the back. Anybody got $350? $350 in the back and the front. $350. Anybody got $375? $375.
How much if we throw in Tauno?
Here's another secret. If you go to $375, you get to wear a hat with your partner. 2 hats go with this. $375. Who's got $375? $375 in the back. Anybody got an even 4? Even $400? $400 right here. Anybody got $425? $425? $425 in the back. $450? $450? $450? $475? $500? $525? $525? $550? Do we have $550? $550? $575? And an even 6. Just an even 6. Okay. Now, what I'm going to ask you, would it be possible for you to send us another like jersey, and we go this for 6 and 6 for the two of you?
You got it.
All right. Thank you very much. Mike, come on up here afterward, and you come up here afterward, and we'll settle this up. Thank you all for being here tonight.